This is Splitgate 2, an arena shooter where every fight feels like a mind-bending puzzle, where gunplay and movement is just as important as intellect and how you use the core feature of the game, portals. Splitgate reached out to me to sponsor a video, and I was a huge fan of Splitgate 1, so I thought this was an awesome opportunity to showcase some of the gameplay. But we're esports fans here. So while we go through everything the game has to offer, I also wanted to discuss the potential of it becoming a successful esport. And if you wanted to support the channel and Splitgate, make sure to download the game with my link in the description. The open beta is available right now on PC through Steam or Epic Games, and available on PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox Series X or S, and Xbox One. But let's get into the first topic I want to cover, and that's the skill gap. Good esports need to have a distinction between new players, mid-tier players, top-level players, and then your pros. And that's exactly what the portals provide when it comes to Splitgate. There's already a familiar gunplay experience, similar to the many other popular FPS games that have existed for the last 10 to 20 years. But the portals separate your general FPS players from the Splitgate players. The amount of strategies and plays you can make with the portals are limitless, only capped by your imagination or how you're thinking with portals. I may be extreme here, but I feel like mastering portaling is the primary mechanic, and the rest is secondary. It makes me very reminiscent of the early days of Fortnite, when building was such an afterthought until players realized it was the mechanic that actually distinguished players. This also bleeds into how you fight against or counter portal. You need to be aware of the common portal spots, cognizant of your angles, and not blindly cross enemy portals. I actually think this is one of Splitgate 1's biggest challenges. It's that people got so good so quick with portals, the skill gap just was too big, and it didn't feel like there was a lot players could do to counter them. It would cause new players to get frustrated and not give the game a chance because they would just get dominated by the more experienced. In Splitgate 2, I instantly felt the map design had improved, allowing you to better position yourself, and there was a lot less cheesy spots that could be exploited. Also in Splitgate 2, you can close enemy portals by just shooting your own portal over it, as opposed to Splitgate 1 where you needed a grenade to do so, making it that you could always clear your back and prevent setups significantly easier than in the previous game. Now, the 3 new faction system also helps balance the skill gap. These are like your classes and what will define your playstyle with new in-game abilities. Now, to be clear, these abilities are to enhance what your strengths are with your gameplay, but they're not too oppressive or overpowering that I would consider this a hero shooter. That being said, the Eros Aces are defined as fast, agile, and the class for those who want to master their portal skills. They have the ability Rush, which gives a speed boost to movement, reloading, and health regen. This was the one that I used the most. Meridian Aces are the supports, with tactical equipment around the idea of healing your team, giving speed buffs, or enemy debuffs, and an ability to briefly scan enemies through the wall. And the Sabrask Aces are your defense players, with their core ability being a barrier that you could shoot through but enemies can't. Perfect for objective-based game modes like Firecracker or Hot Zone. Each of the different abilities improve team play and allow different ways to combat portaling. If you keep getting flanked, Sabrask walls can cut off angles, Eros regen can give you a second chance, Meridian scans can help you be proactive. It gives the game a lot more layers to think about, several different ways to engage in each fight, and in a weird way, both levels the playing field between players, but allows them much more skill expression. And that leads into the second topic, which is that great esports need to be simple, but complex. Well, that's a straight up oxymoron. So how does that work? The game should be simple enough for new players or viewers to understand the primary objective at hand, making it obvious to know what players need to do to win the game, and can a new aspiring player jump in and immediately experience a taste of that same competitiveness. I think the 3 best game modes in Splitgate 2 that accomplish this are Firecracker, Splitball, and Takedown. Firecracker is their take on a bomb defusal game mode, with the spin that when defenders defuse a bomb, the round doesn't end. Attackers can plant as many times as possible until their timer runs out, keeping the game really high-paced and intense, especially in those final moments. Splitball is their spin on Capture the Flag, with the added element of being able to steal balls from the enemy base, essentially having multiple capture objectives on the map at all times. And then Takedown is a signature game mode from Splitgate 1, where being eliminated continuously increases your respawn timer, and once all 4 members on one team are simultaneously eliminated, a round is won. All of these are very straightforward to grasp for a new viewer. However, they are complex enough that at the top level, pros will need to strategize, learn map rotations, portals, and faction compositions to maximize their potential to win a game. There needs to be a meta and a level of play that can be analyzed and broken down that makes the game interesting enough rather than the 4 best mechanically skilled players just simply win the game. This may be something I am biased on as someone who analyzes an esport for a living, but all the top sports and esports need that ability to create discussion and intrigue. I imagine breaking down the nuances of balancing defense and offense in a single round of split ball, or the transition of speed in a takedown game, with rounds starting relatively fast but coming to a slower, methodical approach when respawn timers get high. And can I say that each of these game modes provides so many opportunities for sick clutch plays. Like in one Firecracker game when my team literally had time for one more plant, and we had to pull off this hold to win the game.
10 seconds. Double kill. Firecrackering the ground.
Detonation countdown underway. Keep enemy away from the objective.
Double kill. Triple kill. Heating up. Avenger. Double kill. Guardian Angel.
While I think the game modes will be the driving force for this simple but complex idea, other features of the game I'm sure will come into play here, like understanding and exploiting the way respawn locations work, or, as I already mentioned, faction compositions. You know, when you're on takedown, do you run arrows and meridians because you need more survivability and you're on the move, whereas Firecracker, you're probably going to need 2 Sabras players to defend points. Now, let's quickly rapid fire a few things I think will also help the success of Splitgate as an esport. Accessibility. A game trying to build up a player base like this needs to give as many people as possible the opportunity to play. As I already mentioned, it's available on every platform, including last-gen consoles with PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. This may be a take that some disagree with, but I am a believer in allowing both controller and MK input in competition. The amount of players in Apex that started as console grinders, eventually swapped to PC, and then rose to the top of competitive scene is a lot higher than I think many people realize, and I believe is what has kept the competitive scene thriving. I think Splitgate should allow the same, especially because I do think MK is still better in this game. Obviously, right now, I have limited experience, and I'm not a top-level player, but as a controller player on other games, I prefer MK way more on Splitgate, because the speed in which you need to react with portals sometimes feels like a tack shooter. You gotta snap in different directions, and when I was playing on roller, I just didn't find that very easy. 2, there needs to be ranked and a clear path to becoming a pro. Splitgate 1 did have a ranked mode, so while Splitgate 2 currently doesn't, I fully expect it to be added, but I believe that it should resemble as close as possible to how an esport would look for this game, so that if top-level ranked players want to transition into the pro league, it would be an easy process. User-generated content. This is what has allowed games to thrive for years. Giving the community ways to have fun, make their own game modes, maps, content is the best way to keep interest. And it can also foster competitive growth. Every game with UGC usually has people create maps to improve mechanics and get better at the game. Well, Splitgate is doing exactly that with labs, where you can create maps, game modes, and collaborate with up to 16 other players in-game. They told us that the maps may even be featured by the devs. It's perfect for building up a strong, dedicated community and is what many games should be doing. And finally, games like this need involved, passionate devs. Now, I know this is a sponsored video, but by no means was I told to say this, but the devs of this game appear to be some of the most passionate I've ever seen. This is a project that Ian, the CEO of 1047, has been working on since his days in college, and you can tell he puts his heart and soul into it. The beta started off with a bit of server stability issues, and there was a ton of communication from the developers on socials working tirelessly to get everything running smoothly. And then they were promising to make things right for players with gifted items, increased XP, and bonus battle pass progression. This level of involvement in the community is huge, as it shows they'll be keen on listening to what the fans are looking for and creating an experience alongside of them. So will Splitgate be the next big esport? It's not a clear-cut yes or no answer. They'll have to capture a broad appeal and a mass audience to then justify events with large enough prize pools to make it interesting. But considering they have experience with the Splitgate 1 Pro Series, and now they improve improved significantly on the fundamentals of the game in Splitgate 2. All the building blocks are here in place, and I do think they have a recipe for a very entertaining and competitive league in front of them. And remember, if you want to support and be early on the potential of an uprising game, use the link in my description to download Splitgate 2 for free today. Oh, get fucked.
Heating up.
Good.
Payback.
Okay, hold on, wait, that should be enough. That should be
Around the
enough.
melee button.
That should be enough. That should be enough. That should be enough.
Round one.
Nice.